Text, Acts 8, 1-3. The passage opens in the shadow of Stephen, whose death marked a turning point in the narrative of the early assembly. What appears at first to be a tragic rupture unfolds as a decisive movement within the unfolding covenantal transition. The witness of Stephen did not merely end in his death, it echoed into a wider dispersion, signaling that what had been centered in Jerusalem was now extending outward in accordance with what had already been declared. The text tells us that a great persecution arose against the church in Jerusalem, and they were all scattered throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria, except the apostles. This scattering is not incidental. It reflects a movement that had been anticipated. The message, once concentrated in a single city tied to the temple system and its structures, now begins to move beyond those confines. The boundaries that once defined covenant identity, land, temple, and city, are no longer restrictive. The dispersion demonstrates that the life and righteousness now revealed are not bound to geography, but are carried by the proclamation itself. The mention of devout men carrying Stephen to his burial and making great lamentation over him highlights the tension of the moment. There is grief, yet it is not without purpose. His death stands as a witness against the old order that resisted the fulfillment unfolding before it. The lamentation underscores the cost of that testimony, yet it also frames the transition that is underway. The old covenant system, with its structures and expectations, is being a reality that it cannot contain. The narrative then turns to Saul of Tarsus, who is introduced as a central figure in the persecution. He is described as ravaging the church, entering house after house, dragging off men and women, and committing them to prison. This is not merely the action of an individual zealot. It represents the intensity of the resistance coming from those most committed to the established order. Saul embodies the fervor of a system that seeks to preserve itself, even as that system is already passing away. Yet within this very opposition, something deeper is at work. The persecution does not extinguish the message, it propels it. Those who are scattered do not abandon what they have received, they carry it with them. The life that has been revealed is not sustained by external protection or institutional stability. It is inherent, enduring, and not subject to suppression. The righteousness now revealed does not depend on adherence to the former covenantal structures, nor can it be undone by force or imprisonment. The contrast between Saul's actions and the persistence of the message reveals the nature of what has been accomplished. The former system operated through external regulation, enforcement, and boundary. What is now present operates through a finished reality that does not rely on those mechanisms. Even as Saul seeks to contain and silence, the very effort results in expansion. The scattering becomes the means by which the message reaches beyond its original confines. This moment, therefore, is not simply about persecution, it is about transition. The events surrounding Stephen's death and the ensuing persecution mark a visible shift from one covenantal age to another. The temple-centered life of Israel, with its sacrifices and ordinances, is no longer the focal point. What has been established cannot be localized or restricted, and thus it moves freely, carried by those who have received it. In Acts 8, verse 1-3, the tension between resistance and fulfillment is on full display. The persecution, rather than halting the progression of what has been revealed, becomes the very means by which it advances. The old order, represented in its most zealous form, seeks to preserve itself, yet in doing so, it unwittingly participates in the spread of that which renders it obsolete. Thus, the passage stands as a testimony to a reality that is no longer confined to the structures that preceded it. The scattering of the assembly, the mourning over Stephen, and the aggression of Saul all converge to reveal that what has been established is not dependent on the old framework. It moves beyond it, even through opposition, demonstrating that the transition is not only underway, but irreversible.